I unfortunately lost my father to suicide when I was about 7 3/4. So that was quite a difficult thing to go through. But I myself have been suffering from depression and anxiety since my mid to late teens. My mother didn't get any help for herself or for us 3 children. We kind of had to get through a lot of it ourselves.
I'd always had a manageable level of anxiety throughout my life. But then about a year ago I started getting really bad anxiety to the point where it turned into panic attacks. It would sort of come on like I felt like I was just not well, like I felt like I was a bit lightheaded. I'd have to go lie down and I wouldn't be able to breathe. It would feel like someone was sitting on my chest, sob uncontrollably, but not because I was sad, but it was just, there was all this emotion, like anxiety stuck in my body and I had to get it out somehow. And it was very overwhelming. And when it happened the first time, I was like, oh, that's a bit weird, a bit out of the ordinary. And then it happened again and again and again. And it was just like, what's happening to me?
Well, I went to work one day and I never went home that evening. I woke up 11 days later in drug-induced coma in hospital. What had happened, I'd cracked my head on my right-hand side on the corner of the step and smashed my skull, a depressed skull fracture. Resulted in metal plates and screws in the back of my head. 6 weeks after the original accident, they cut me open again and removed a blood clot the size of a 50-cent piece. And obviously out of it, I got permanent brain damage. And it's affected me, well, since day one, because I went through nearly 18 months of rehabilitation, off work, on work, constant battles, depression, suicide, everything. It just built up and I didn't know where to turn to. My wife at the time, I just gave absolute hell because she didn't know how to handle it, I didn't know how to handle it. Just everybody, I just pushed them away. And
I spent 16 and a half years thereabouts in the West Australian Police Force. Done a lot, but also saw a lot. The things you actually see and have to do can affect you later on in life. So I've been dealing with that, I guess, since just before I left the police force. The doctors have tried various forms of medication. I'm on one now which works like a charm. The only time I guess I feel normal is when I'm taking these tablets. I actually lived in Cambodia for 3 years. My medication ran out there and I did kind of go off the rails. Some very serious thoughts about suicide, to the point of standing on top of my 6-storey block of units, contemplating which side I could jump off so that it wouldn't affect the kids who were playing below.
So it took me a long time to do anything about it because there is that stigma of only crazy people need to see psychologists, or there would be something really wrong with me if it got to that level. But because it was happening regularly and I'd just be exhausted after, and so I had to do something about it. I went to my doctor and asked for a mental health plan, and I found a psychologist. And the first appointment I went to, essentially I just cried for an hour while she talked to me and let me know what was actually happening in my body and my brain at the time to make me feel the way I was feeling, and just to understand that it was a natural reaction to something my brain thought was happening. It was comforting to know that I wasn't losing it, essentially, yeah. Even if it's to one person, speak to one person that you trust, that in itself, just getting it off your chest is helpful.
I just woke up one day and I thought, I can't take this anymore. It's got to be up to me. No one's going to do it for me. And I suppose that's how I started a road to recovery, because I just sort of sat back and reflected about, it's not all about me. It's about the people that's around me that I'm affecting. And that was hard.
I did discuss it with my ex-wife, because we keep in constant contact, and said, book a flight, come home, get treatment. So I did, and I was fortunate enough to get a very good doctor, and she kind of helped me along the way. But for the first time in my life, it did involve me having to consult a psychologist, but that wasn't certainly as bad as I thought it was going to be. She did give me some very good coping strategies. One of my main problems is I suffer flashbacks, and she gave me strategies to block those out as much as possible.
Side here was more than supportive. They were there to make sure I didn't go backwards or fall in a heap. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here now.
the support from Compass Group, from management and HR, I wouldn't be on the pathway to healing that I am today without it. I know that. I just feel that, yeah, like the peer support at work can sometimes mean more than other support you may be getting, and that's really important, that you have people like that in your life that want to make you be a better person and keep going.
Well, I don't have panic attacks anymore. I still get anxiety and sometimes start to feel like it could turn into something more. I have ways of working around that and dealing with the present moment. And I think the biggest thing that was helpful to me is I'm having anxiety and that's okay. And just acknowledging that it's not going to hurt me and sitting with it. Because a lot of people, especially if they've got anxiety, they're not ever going to get rid of it, but it's being comfortable with it.
You know, there's so many people out there to help you. Just because the first 1 or 2 people may not help you, doesn't mean the 3rd and 4th person won't help you, or the 5th or 6th or the 10th or the 20th. You've just got to want that help. You've got to be able to see a path behind that dark path and equip yourself with the tools to be able to get onto that path. And I believe there are just so many tools that we have these days, many more than my father unfortunately had.
I think it's just really important that people are talking to each other and watching out for each other and having each other's back and just having that conversation, because the people you work with every day are going to be the people who can notice if something's not right.
I just don't want people to end up going the wrong way with their mental health, and there is plenty of help out there. And just if you feel that you're suffering from a mental health issue or you're not sure, then do talk to your doctor, and they're the best ones who will give you advice and refer you to the right people. There is plenty of help out there. You just got to seek it.
There is life after an illness, mate. You know, like, you can manage it. None of us are 100%, we all have our faults. But if you can manage in the best way possible and just try and think positive about it. You're at an age where you've got the opportunity to get yourself back on the straight and narrow, you know. If someone offers their hand, you take it.
Just be like if you have diabetes, you know, you need your insulin. If you've got a heart problem, you need your medication. It's the same when your brain doesn't work properly, when your neurotransmitters aren't working properly. You need to take medication to help, to be able to exist and to live and breathe and do all the things that, you know, everyone else does and just takes for granted sometimes, I guess.
You know, you owe it to yourself to have the best possible life that you can have. And treatment is one phone call away or one appointment away, and it will change your life, it can change your life.